Hey guys, it's Kat D, and I'm here with my September reading wrap up. In September, I participated in the Readathon, which took place a while ago, but I wanted to do it so I could do the Newts Readathon in November. But I actually might move the Newts to December. We'll see. I'm going to do the Newts in November or December. Like, my months are crazy, but I really would like to get to that. Or maybe January. But regardless, I had to do the Owls before I did the Newts. So with the Owls, there were specific challenges, and it was all Harry Potter themed. So you took specific classes, and with each class you took, you had a challenge to complete that was book related. You couldn't double up. Book Roast initially came up with this, so I will link Book Roast video down below for not only her Owl-a-thon, Readathon announcement, but also the Newts. So if you want to take part in one or both, then you can. So I didn't do too bad. I strayed from the path, like from my TBR. I found that I didn't have as much time as I wanted, and I read a ridiculously large book that encompassed a lot of my time. It was like 814 pages, the dumbest book for a readathon, but I'm trying to read one a month. My friend just told me that they actually announced an Amazon series that's going to take place surrounding this book series that I'm started to read just now, and it's blowing my mind. I'm so excited about it. So let's just get right into the classes and the challenges with each class. I believe you had to pass 3 in order to pass. I'm not sure the logistics. I'll put it all down below. All right, for my first class I took was Ancient Runes, and that was to read a book with the symbol on the cover. So for this, I read Giant Days Volume 2. I love this graphic novel, and you will see quite a few graphic novels within like this group of books that I read. But I thoroughly enjoyed it. I would read all of them if I had the time to read all of them, but I had other things that I wanted to get accomplished, so I think that I might read 1 or 2 of these. I'm not sure. But Giant Days follows this group of college student girls, and they're all completely different. I mentioned this in my TBR video, so it's basically just about life, about college life, about with 3 girls that are best friends, completely different, and how they really support each other and kind of like, you know, what is that word? They like help each other out, like they're the yings to their yangs. I know there's a word for it, but I'm drawing a blank. But, you know, they wouldn't be who they are without one another. It was really good. What is the word? All right, for the second class I took was Arithmacy, which was a book with the number on the cover. And for this, let's just follow the same suit. I read Giant Days Volume 3. Same premise, just, you know, the book continue. I really can't tell you about it because it's Volume 3, but it's just college life. It's really fast read. It's really fun. I think what makes this graphic novel really successful is the fact that it shows 3 very different women, and I just love it. I like it a lot. Okay, so for the third, we have Astronomy, and that's read a science fiction novel. And for this, I read Darkest Minds, or The Darkest Minds by Alexandra Bracken. And I'll put my star ratings of each of them down here if I haven't been doing so already, or if I didn't mention it. And this was 488 pages, but it was kind of a fast read for me. Like, when I was reading it, it was fast, but I found like it was a book that I could put down super easy. Now, I love young adult. I read a lot of young adult, but this felt super young adult to me. Like, this felt like, you know, I was reading it because I wanted to read the book before the movie came out, and then I just kept reading it, like kept pushing it back, and I just never got to it. So I finally picked it up, and yeah, it was just okay. I don't remember what I rated it. If I might have rated it 3 or 4 stars. Who knows? I don't remember my ratings. I remember my 5-star ratings. It wasn't a 5-star book. So next is Care of Magical Creatures, and for that it says read a book that including magical creatures or features of magical creature on the cover. And for this, I read I Hate Fairyland Volume 1. Loved this graphic novel. I loved this graphic novel so much that I went out and bought a second copy and sent it to one of my best friends. And I was like, you have to read this. You have to read it. It is cartoony, but it's vulgar. It's like children adult, but very adult. It is not for kids. If you're a kid, you cannot don't read it. You're not allowed to read it. I say so. Yeah, you should not read this book. So it follows this young girl named Gertrude who gets sucked into this place called Fairyland, and her only job is to complete this task that they say typically takes 2 days to complete in order to get out of Fairyland. Needless to say, Gertrude runs into some hiccups, and that's all I'm going to say. But it is amazing, and I loved it. I loved it so much. It's 5 out of 5 stars for me. Totally worth reading. Next one, it was Charms, and for Charms it was Read a Fantasy Book, and for this one I started reading Children of Blood and Bone by Tomi Adeyemi. I did not complete it. I'm about halfway through the book, therefore I did not complete the Charms class. So when I go on to do my notes, I will not be able to go further on with the Charms class. Yes. Okay, so next was Defense Against the Dark Arts, which is a book about or featuring secret societies or clubs. And for this, it was a little bit of a stretch for me. This is, sorry, my shirt is making noises. But to me, it makes sense. So for this, I read Legendary, which is The Secret to Caraval. And oh my god, I loved this book. I loved this book better than Caraval. I think I gave Caraval 3 stars. And don't hate me, it's my opinion. I obviously liked it enough to continue on to the second book. But the second book I gave 4 stars, and it was so good. I loved the perspective that it was in. I'm not going to give you any more details, but it was in a different perspective than the original book, or someone else's perspective. So I will briefly tell you about Caraval, since I can't tell you about Legendary because it's technically a sequel. But Caraval basically follows this guy named Legend, the sisters Scarlet and Tella. And Scarlet and Tella live in kind of a place where it's kind of an odd time to be a woman. Scarlet's supposed to be married off to this person that she doesn't know. She's been pen paling with them, but they have like an overprotective, overbearing, like it sounds like evil father. And so, you know, Scarlet's the one that always obeys everything, always does everything that she's supposed to do. And then Tella, her sister, is the one that's kind of like a rebel, kind of like, you know, kind of just does whatever the heck she wants to do. And their mother's not around, so that's a big plot point in this book, is their mother has disappeared and they don't know where their mother is gone. They think that their mother has abandoned them. So besides all of that, there is this thing called Caraval, and Caraval is almost like a game, but it takes place in a whole, like in like a whole other area. They have to like go to it, and you have to be invited by this guy named Legend, and Legend invites you to take place in Caraval. And within Caraval, you have to use your perception, you have to listen, you have to, everything's not what it seems, but it's like this game, and in order to win the game, you have to follow clues that you find within Caraval. And the one winner gets, in the first book, they get a wish. So whatever wish they want, in order, if they win Caraval, they get a wish. And there's so much more to that, but that's what Caraval is. I loved it. It was, I mean, I loved Legendary. I did like Caraval, and after reading Legendary, I like Caraval more because it set up what Legendary is. So, the next one is Divination. Read a book featuring prophecies, and this book was the book that took me forever to freaking read. So I read the first book in the Wheel of Time series. I read The Eye of the World by Robert Jordan, and this book was 814 fabulous pages. Now the best part about this book is when it was good, it was so good, but when it was slow, it was so slow. And I found myself having to push myself through certain parts, but then the ending happened. Like, I'll definitely be continuing the series. This is the one, I gave it 4 stars. This is the one that Amazon just picked up to create a TV series. So I'm super excited about that. So all of you fantasy lovers should be super excited about that. If you don't know what the Wheel of Time series is, very briefly, there's these 3 boys, Rand, Perrin, and Matt Coffin, or Matt Coffee, I don't know, and Matt. And all 3 of them live in this place called Emmonsfield, and they live a very simple life. And then all of a sudden, it gets attacked by these creatures, and they don't know why. And there's this person called the Aes Sedai that comes and tells them it's because of them. And it really follows them 3 and 2 other characters, Nynaeve and Egwene. It follows kind of them, all 5 of them, from Emmonsfield, and it kind of basically they're trying to figure out, through the whole book is discovery of why they're being chased by these things. I don't know how else to describe it. That's really what it is. Like, it feels like it's a setup for this big entire series, but Rand doesn't really know who he is. He's really trying to figure out who he is. He kind of stands out. He doesn't look like anybody from Emmonsfield, and you kind of find out later in the book that Perrin and Matt have some things that are kind of different too. So, like, it's good. Like, I can't give you anything away. I can't give you any more than that. I wish I was better at giving you a synopsis of the book, but I feel like if I start talking about it, I'm just going to start giving away details, and I can't do that. So go read it. It's an epic fantasy, high fantasy, whatever. It's a book about traveling, fighting things, magic, death, monsters, treasure, etc., etc. Alright, so the next thing we have is Herbology, and this is to read a book with a nature-related word in the title. And for this, I read the second book in the Percy Jackson series. I read Sea of Monsters by Riordan. Loved it. 5 stars. I know this is a middle grade, but this is my first time ever reading it. I read The Lightning Thief. Loved it. Read Sea of Monsters. Loved it. I can't wait to continue. I feel like I might read one of Riordan's books a month. So yeah, A+. So the next one is The History of Magic, and this is to read a historical fiction novel. And for this one, I chose Stalking Jack the Ripper by Kerri Maniscalco. Now, I wanted to love this book. Like, the premise is amazing, but I just kind of liked it. I gave it 3 stars. My 3-star books, if you don't know my rating system, I didn't hate the book. I didn't love the book, but I was glad I read the book. That neutral, non-hate, non-love, right down the middle. So I liked. I did give it 3 stars. So Stalking Jack the Ripper follows Audrey Rose, who is a female in a time where females don't, they're not detectives. They don't learn about dead bodies. They're not, it's not fit or, proper for them to learn about these things. But Audrey Rose is kind of like, she's going to do it anyway. And her uncle is actually teaches these things about post-mortem death and things like that. So he lets her sit in on the classes. And eventually the story goes on, and they are trying to, she ends up getting pulled into this scenario where she's actually trying to find out who Jack the Ripper is, or that's what they're, it's a Stalking Jack the Ripper. They're trying to find out who the murderer is, and the whole book is basically kind of that. It's kind of like a murder mystery book. I loved parts. I hated parts. I didn't like the love interest. I felt like it was so forced. Like, it didn't feel like they'd really like each other in real life to me. But that's just my opinion. I'm not going to tell you who that is because I feel like telling you who the love interest is might... Anyway. So yeah, it was just okay. 3 stars for me. And I know I'm rambling. This is so long. It's forever long. So So the next class was Muggle Studies, and for this it was to read a Muggle nonfiction book. My plans were to read Persepolis, but I didn't read that, which is a memoir in graphic novel form. I just didn't have a chance. So I will not be able to move forward in that category when I take the newts. I believe there's 3 subjects I did not complete. Okay, for the next one was Potions, and this was read a book about or with alchemy. I'm so mad I didn't get to this because I really wanted to move on to this, but my plan was to read Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, and I just didn't get to it. I'm telling you, that 814-page book really kicked my booty, but I'm going to try it again in November. I'm going to try to read the second one, so there you go. I mean October. It's not November, Catherine. What the heck? Okay, and for the last one is Transfiguration. Read a book that deals with transfiguration or shape-shifting or something similar, or a book with a cat on the cover. So for this one, I read I Hate Fairyland Volume 2, and I might have mixed them up between Volume 2 or Volume 1. One of them has a cat on the cover, and one of them I don't think does. So one of them includes magical creatures, and one was a cat on the cover, and I might have to switch Astronomy and Transfiguration. But you get the point. So I already talked about I Hate Fairyland. I love this graphic novel. I loved it so much. I can't wait to continue. I believe there's 4 right now. This last one just came out in August. And I think I read a few things that were not a part of my readathon. I'm just going to take a quick look. Okay, so this is what I've been doing. You guys look at this. So this is me, and I like to doodle with all of the books that I'm reading or read. That's me. That's my life. So yeah. I can't remember. I'm sure that I read more. It's on my Goodreads if you're interested in what I read that was outside of the readathon. I think there was only a couple books. I think I ended up reading 12 books this month, which is a very good reading for me. But when I attempt the newts, that's going to be 3 times 9, so 27 books. Is that right? Whew! So 3 for each subject. Let's see. 1, Ancient Runes. Arithmacy, Astronomy, Care of Magical Creatures, Defense Against the Dark Arts, Divination, Herbology, History of Magic, Transfiguration. So, yeah, so 9 times 3. So, I will be attempting to read 27 books, apparently, in 1 month. And I think the most books that I've read in a month is 18. So, graphic novels are in my future for that readathon. Oh, and if you want a readathon tip, do not read an 814-page very dense, very high fantasy book during a readathon. It's not the smartest thing. It can put you in a really bad slip. It really can. Anyway, so let me know what you thought about this video. Let me know if you've read any of the books that I've read. I'm Kat D, guys. Please give this video a thumbs up, comment, and subscribe down below. Bye!